Hey, welcome to Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back for another week. We just got done with Worlds. Some of us are very sleepy, named Noah, and
Both of me, dude. I was just saving my energy.
you're like falling asleep before the podcast. It's okay. Um, some of us had great runs and terrible runs at the same time, and we will get into all of that, plus things that happened at Worlds and kind of our thoughts on the format and maybe some of the new stuff that's coming forward. But it was a great weekend. I think I'm still recovering from it, and I didn't even travel. I just am kind of worn out from how intense all the play was. But you should be able to see me on stream. You should see Fino on stream. I was watching Fino's games earlier today, which are pretty great. Dan, unfortunately, your games aren't streamed, even though you did super well in the battle.
They never are. They never are
as well.
Streamed in our heart.
In our heart, yeah. But I'll start with Noah. You were kind of the forefather of the KO deck that a bunch of us have brought, you and Yuanji, which is funny because I keep getting asked, what's the KO list? What is the KO list that you played at Worlds? And I'm like, it's just the Metafy guide. Like, it's not like we hit anything. This is my favorite timeline is just like played KO. I literally played the Metafy guide. I think I'm 5 cards different because I wanted a couple of different blues. They're not like any big substantial differences. Played the Metafy guide. There are some comments on the guide that are like, this is not exactly what I thought I was getting when I bought it. And there's like a bunch of like positive ones, but I'm just like, this guide is everything. Like, we just took the deck to Worlds and played it at Worlds. It's like it's a Worlds level guide, which is super funny to me. This whole cycle, we didn't really hide anything, and I think the deck is pretty good. But Noah, what were your thoughts on deciding to play KO, bringing it to Worlds, and then
I
obviously
thought about hiding things
Worlds
later, but I want to come back to that.
Okay.
All right. Well, can I say something first that's just completely irrelevant, but I need to say it?
Sure.
You know how you always intro the podcast with different forms of like hey and a?
Yeah.
It'd be really funny if someone made like a remix of just like all the different ways you say hey. I think that would be a funny compilation. Okay. Now on a more serious note, yeah, I felt like I got roasted by everybody at the tournament for my deck selection. It just seems like whenever I bring KO and also for playing Starvo, people are like, oh, I expected you to be on Vis, or like, oh, what are you playing? Like Verdance or Syndra, or like some, deck that normal human beings play. And then I just always have to give them the answer of KO, and I feel like I get debuffed before the match even starts with like they just because they're casting shade on me for playing a hero with RNG elements at the World Championship, that like somehow the RNG goes worse for me. I also had like a theoretical stream game, by the way. You mentioned stream games. It was never aired, but yeah, I played against a Gravy on stream, and that sort of cascaded my downfall. I just think like a lot of the times when you play KO and into opponents who are at least semi-competent, you can't really afford to have situations where you're like 67% to succeed. You hit that 33% multiple times in the game, like you're just going to lose. So as much as KO is strong in that, even if your opponent is better than you or has a pretty good draw from their POV, if you're hitting those 50%, those 67% in your favor, then you're usually good to win. But it can feel a little bit hopeless when you're just not hitting those, and you know they're the mathematically correct lines, but it just doesn't go your way in the tournament. And when that tournament is the World Championship, it's a little bit disappointing. But overall, my weekend was super fun. Like a bunch of the people who played the same decks as me between the KO deck and the Starvo deck had some amount of success, so that was always nice to see. Even though it wasn't me like doing it, I still feel like this weekend, if anybody knows me from tournament weekends, I almost always get sick after the tournament because like I get no sleep. You live like a degenerate lifestyle of like not really eating, just having energy drinks and coffee, and then a giant meal later at night. We're like walking out in the cold, getting blasted by wind. It's like -1 million because we live in this stupid part of the country. But this weekend I'm like totally fine after, because I truly feel like I didn't actually play bad to deserve my record. It's just like unfortunate things happened, and then also the fact that I had both people on the team as well as other locals do well is like it's probably the most positive reaction my body has had to a weekend after having such a bad result. So all in all, feels fine. Just obviously wish I could have repeated the performance from the year before, but can't win them all and can't win any of them.
Yeah, and I don't even think KO, and we've talked about this before, is
Mm.
more variance than other decks. It's just more in your face variance than other decks,
Yeah.
and I think that's completely accurate. I mean, the difference between like, oh, I didn't draw my Earth cards, but I drew my Felling before my Earth cards, versus like I missed on my Wild Ride. Like, it's not like I didn't have Go again, but I discarded my blue when I actually wanted to discard my red. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just in your face variance versus like deck order complete variance as well.
Yep.
Fino, you got to rock Dromai again in LL, which I know you were excited about because you wouldn't stop talking about it the whole weekend.
I was so excited to play Dromai. I was so happy. During the LL rounds, talking to the people next to me, I was like, man, everyone's dooming around me, being like, oh man, I don't want to play more LL. I don't want to flip more coins. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there being like, I could play 7 more rounds of this. I was just so happy to play Dromai. Real quick though, Noah, you mentioned that a second ago that a couple of the people that we know did well. Just want to shout them out real quick. 2 of our locals actually cashed Worlds, Will Perlman and Joseph Kaiser. Just huge congratulations to them. It was awesome seeing a couple of our locals do well in the event. But yeah, I got 38th at Worlds. I killed it in LL. I went 6-1. My one loss was on stream to Chain, and I basically just sacked that matchup in my prep. What are you laughing at, Shufflefleck? Sorry, 5-1. 5-1.
You played Dromai against the CC deck? You're like, I like playing this deck so much, man.
I'm playing it in my sleep. I had sacked Chain in my prep. There's a day that I played Chain into Dan, and I was like, this is just straight up unplayable. There's no winning this matchup. I'm just going to sack it and not think about it. Of course, I get Chain as my stream game. And of course, he goes, he's playing Boomer Chain, and his first like 3 turns of the game was something like block with a 6 power, throw Command and Conquer, block with a 6 power, throw Command and Conquer, block with a 6 power, throw Humble. I'm like, what is this bullshit from a Boomer Chain deck? You're not supposed to have double popper every turn. This is nonsense. It became pretty clear near the end of that game that I had 100% lost that game. But I look at my hand and I'm like, all right, I'm losing this game, but I could make a funny play for stream because this will never happen again on stream. No blocks. Ash Ketchum turned my hat around. Pitch 2 blues, play Dominia, swing Dominia, take the blue out of his hand. Crack boots, swing Dominia again, take his other blue. Honestly, it's probably the correct play anyways, because I'm like 0% to win the game if I play like normally just blocking. There's a chance he like bleeds out from blood debt with this play and can't like convert. There's a chance, but it was pretty funny. I enjoyed just doing the goofy play for stream. Gravy Bones, what did Gravy Bones things. The deck just failed on me 3 times, so I just like didn't get to win 3 of my games no matter what I did. Like one of the Syndra games I played, literally couldn't make an attack that like put an attack on the combat chain for 4 turns. It was just nonsense Gravy things. Other than that, the deck performed well, but I don't know. I kind of hate the state of where Gravy is. I really wish they would have just banned some power cards and give us back Tipples. But yeah, overall weekend was fun. Had a great time hanging out with everyone. It was honestly nice getting to hang out with everyone after not being allowed to play the game for 2 weeks. Still gonna complain about that. But yeah, it was nice seeing everyone and just getting to hang out and have food.
Yeah, I thought the venue was nice that we played in as well. Which it isn't always, but I thought that was good. The location was, well, it's Philly, so it's what it is. But having like the team house this time around, for people to hang out in, I thought was pretty sweet. Being able to just meet up, go to dinner as well is always great when we do all these things. Dan, you have been touting that Mario is best deck in the format. Unfortunately, I don't know if that turned out accurate for Worlds. But it definitely turned out accurate for the battle.
Say the thing.
So how overall was your weekend?
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the Mario thing though. I did make that claim last podcast. I think the data kind of backed up my claim though. If you look at it, of the decks that had like 20 or more played, he had the highest win rate, or they had the highest win rate. It didn't convert to top 8. Of course, just one more tragedy for the weekend was we had a Marionette finish, I think 9th and 11th. Like, of course, they couldn't just have the one better breaker and improve to the world what I've been screaming to the clouds for the last year. But yeah, I don't know. Then you flash forward to the Battle Hardened, and um, Marionette got second in both again. Not quite proving that it's the best deck, but almost. Yeah, my weekend was kind of tough. Very disappointing. I mean, Worlds was awesome. Like I just love being there. Love being part of the highest level of play you can have. All of my opponents were very good. For Worlds, I had how many rounds did I play? I played the whole day. I dropped after round 8, so I played 8 rounds of very good Flesh and Blood. Unfortunately, picked up 4 losses across those rounds. I'd say 2 of those were due to very bad variants. One of them I couldn't really do much about. It was a Verdance game. That's kind of the nature of the matchup. If the cards don't line up profitably, you can't use them because they present arcane and that kind of thing. So that was unfortunate. Started the day with a loss. That was a good game. I was way ahead, and then they stole it from me. So that was kind of cool for them. I lost a fatigue game. Just didn't quite have the mental capacity after already playing so much Flesh and Blood that week to solve that one. I drew pretty poor sequence and failed to navigate it properly, so I took a loss there. Those are kind of the 2 variance losses. Those are just bad draw sequences that I failed to navigate out of. I took 1 loss to a major misplay on turn 0. It's always turn 0. This is a game against Arthur Chahey on Syndra. We're both 2-2, I think, at this point, fighting for our lives. I'm forced to go first. Unfortunate, but I have a Kiss of Death in hand, and if you play Marionette, usually Kiss of Death on turn 1 means you win the game, because you just mark your opponent, you set it, you flip into Black Widow, you take all their cards, you deal damage. It's great. But I pitched Lair of the Spider like a fool. I said to myself, okay, I have to mark, make sure Shelter doesn't get me here. And the best way to do that is to hold the defense reaction that's live on all of their attacks. That marks them, guaranteed. But I chose not to do that. And then I played the next 6 turns with Kiss of Death and Arsenal, unable to find a way to mark because he kept drawing Shelter. So that was entirely my fault. I felt bad to get punished so dramatically for a small to medium misplay on turn 0. But that was kind of the whole game. I pitched Lair of the Spider and I lost. He played great, obviously. It's not taking away from that. And then my 4th loss was a very minor misplay, I would argue. It was kind of a sick game in LL. Going off of what Fino said, it felt really good to play Zen again. We didn't play Chain. I'm sure Cody will get into that more. But it felt nice to flip some chi, make some tigers. I definitely enjoyed that quite a bit. I do hope I get to play more full power Zen eventually. But my 4th loss, it was kind of a crazy game against Stack Florian. I'm in a super winning position. I'm playing Pouncing Link, so I just do a big combo turn early. I get them down to single digits. But then my deck breaks for a couple turns, and they managed to make some rune chance. So now I'm forced into the IPHE every turn stage of the game until they play their Chains of Eminence to force me to Zen state. So before they draw Chains, I'm trying to chip them down, but I can't find cards that do damage in my deck. It was kind of crazy. I would just draw have the chi. I would draw blue, random red, and it's just not enough to deal damage. So I was desperately cycling to find Art of War, and I couldn't find it. Finally, I'm forced to go off or make the Zen state. I do my 2 turns of damage, and I end up losing the game with them having 0 cards in deck and 1 health, and a stack of 60 rune chance, and a birthday cake in Arsenal. So that sucked. Ultimately, it was because I tutored a key only, or no, I tutored a greedy Chase the Tail, and then I failed to make the Tigers off of Maul. And I just didn't need to do that for any reason. If I get a swipe there, I just win the game deterministically later when I eventually chase the tail. So that was rough. And that was the end of my Worlds. Going into the calling, I was excited to play not Chain. I was excited to play Zen.
You were excited to play Chain, but
yeah, this was 2 weeks ago. I was excited to play Chain. We'll get to that later. But I was excited to play more Zen games, and they were just a complete joke. I got OTK'd on turn 2 by Viserai for 50. Couldn't find the chi. I don't know. It was just everything that could go wrong went wrong. I lost round 1 to a Marlin. Maybe it was round 2. I don't know. It was the same guy. Shout out to him. He was cool. Same guy that beat me round 1 of Worlds on Verdance. beat me in the calling. It was Marlin.
You have a
and
new
I think
rival.
I guess so.
I'm in this
I
whole
don't know.
man's
Both of the games
career.
are kind of a meme. What's that?
He's like, I'm gonna end this whole man's career. Just follows you around every tournament, beats you.
I guess. I mean, I
So,
think
so
you'd
the only
agree.
reason
games
you
are
taught
kind
the
of
battle
a
hardened is
meme.
because you didn't play him then, right?
Probably. Yeah, something about it makes my deck not work. But he's playing Marlin. We have a pretty good matchup. We're pretty sure as Zen. We have some D-reacts. We have like 20 instants. Half our deck is attacks. The other half is non-attacks. Every single harpoon hits what it's looking for. There's even a turn where he doesn't overpower his King Shark harpoon, and I have 4 attacks in hand. That pretty much sums up how that game went. So I took that loss, and then the final straw was I paired into Viscerai, which is why we're playing Zen. This is great. Got my deck I'm targeting. They repair, and I hit Tao Tao on New. And anyone who's played Flesh and Blood during Breath of Mistveil knows that New is quite the predator of Zen, and
Womp womp.
that definitely ended my run immediately. It was the classic, like, just let me out of the box, please, and I'll do some damage, and I didn't really get out of the box. My combo turned out like 6, and then I died. It's cool to meet Tata, though. As a Marionette fan, it's hard to, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was cool to meet him as one of the, like, founding deck builders of current Marionette, so that was my calling. Again, disappointing Worlds. Calling never really got off the ground, so it was whatever. I lost just like round 3 or 4 for the second time or third time. But then Sunday, I played the Battle Hardened. I thought maybe I'll just go home Saturday night. But I had to play Marionette one last time in this meta. I made the claim that's the best deck. I really do feel that that's true, meaning it's like the best pick for the format. And it went pretty well. I took an early loss round 2, so then I was sweating the whole day, like one more loss and I'm out. Just hoping it's not a waste of time. I make it to the last round and then miss top 8. But I don't. Yeah, early games go well. The last couple of rounds, I'm just drawing the actual nuts against everybody. It becomes pretty clear to me that, like, oh, this is just going to happen. I was just drawing crazy good towards the end. Make top 8. Excited about that. The Battle Hardened farmer has struck again, as LSS has titled me. Got a cool Compass playmat. Nice little top 8 photo. Always like that. Top 8 games were pretty stressful. The first one was actually, like, unfortunately, a pretty non-game for my opponent. They were playing Dorinthia. I'm not drawing great to start, but every time they attack, I look at their pit zone and there's like 2 reds. I'm like, oh, this isn't normally how this matchup goes. So they just, like, their deck didn't let them play the game. That was kind of sad. And then my deck cooperated and just outdamaged them. Top 4, played against Verdance. It was your typical sweaty Verdance game. Towards the end, I'm forced to go into lethal range. I go to like 7 to try and close, and luckily they don't have it, and I'm able to. And then classic, got to the Battle Hardened finals for the, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th time, something like that. Still haven't won one, unfortunately. Got to play against Shoma, though, which is super cool. Really nice guy, really nice opponent, and he took me down on Kasai. Again, it kind of had a awkward draw sequence, and he was playing a defensive strategy and comboed me down and forced me to block. So that was my weekend.
Overall, not a bad weekend.
Yeah, started really bad. But yeah, I mean, we split the final, so I walk away with similar to cashing at Worlds, and I got a PTI back, so
Yeah,
can't complain.
Can't complain about that. I think the lead up to this tournament was interesting. Formats are kind of weird, and we can get into kind of our final thoughts on what the format looks like going into it. I mean, if Noah makes it that far, he's like, I think, falling asleep right here in his chair. I'm watching him the whole time, like a hawk. I can see he's just like.
See, the thing is,
The whole...
our wonderful viewers get the benefit of listening to this at 1.5 to 2x speed, whereas I have to experience it in real time. It's quite the travesty.
I feel that.
But we picked up a team house. I think there was like 15 of us in the team house at the time, which was sweet. I don't think we've done a big full team house like that, previously, at least not for those days. It was great testing. I showed up not knowing what LL deck I was playing, and then through playing games, figured out, I was like, Dan and I just kind of like, okay, we're going to play Zen. Let's try and make this work. I wish we had a little bit more time in the team house. I think we would have had something really good to be able to play into Starvo. We kind of were sacking that match a little bit. We also had, Jesse with us the whole time, who does a lot of the editing and a lot of the behind the scenes for all of our content. And he's making a documentary, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm ready to get that out. Noah hates how I say it.
Every time I move my face, you got a response.
I know.
What's up, dude?
I could read you so well. I spent the whole weekend with you. I'm just on point to I know what's going on in his head before he even says any of it, which is great.
I was also questioning the pronunciation, but I was like, I'm just not gonna say anything.
It makes me laugh. So it's like the Data thing. I do whatever makes me entertained.
I understand completely, man. Understand.
But we should have that coming out, which is like a huge behind the scenes look of basically how did we arrive on these decks, how the weekend went, what was behind the scenes testing like within a team house for a team, and then obviously the run at Worlds, which I'm excited for when that comes out. I'm sure that'll be a headache to edit, so I have no actual due date for when that is decided. But I'm excited about that, so I'll do a little teaser there. Overall, it was cool. I liked hanging out with everyone. I'm excited to hopefully do a team house again, but for longer. I think that was very valuable to just have everyone in the same room. Be able to be like, hey, I'm playing this matchup. Can you help me out? I got a lot of help with from Yuanji and Noah and Dan on the various decks that I was playing, which I thought was able to put immediately into practice at the tournament. Especially when a format like this, when it's like so top 20 cards heavy of who wins the game, it's just like more important just to have like a general idea of when you want to use your start and play effects versus anything else, because that's actually what you can depend on. And I think some of those strategies really helped. I think, like Dan, you just kind of did the whole Dio strat for Zen yourself. You're just like, here, this is how you play this matchup. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I was like, okay. I just like watched you play it twice and I was like, that's good enough. Let's send it. But like,
that's just what I've been doing the whole time in LL with Zen.
Yeah. But it's just like those
Tiger combo,
those type of things are like, I think incredibly valuable. And maybe we in the past didn't really do any of that sort of thing. So I think that was a pretty big step up for this tournament. Most of my run is like on stream. I was fortunate enough, but like Dan, you're talking about how like, oh man, I had this decision on turn 1 and I pitched this wrong card and it cost me a thing. I didn't do anything nearly that skillful the entire time I was at the tournament. This is probably like the most unskilled I've ever been in a tournament that I went to. I literally just showed up and just drew my cards and played my cards, and they just told me if I won or not. Like that was a whole format. Like that's why like I've been very upset at previous tournaments when I've like not done well, because I've been going into the last 4 rounds like live for top 8 at almost every tier 4 event I've gone into, and just never been able to pull it out for one reason or another. And sometimes I die on stream, and sometimes I die from my own mistakes, and sometimes I die from not my mistakes. But this one, I died. It's like very all over everyone saw me die, and it was just like not that big of a deal because I didn't do anything to get there in the first place. I sat down, I played KO for the first 5 rounds of CC. I played Syndra, I played Verdance, I played Gravy, I played Verdance again, and I played Dio. So I played all the meta decks. And if either my deck was great or my opponent's deck was terrible, that's the only thing that happened in all of my games. And I just won all of them. I didn't feel like I earned any of it. I was like, okay, we got there. The deck's good. I didn't sit down and play Zen. I get to play against a chain for some reason, which was Florin, Christian, but he was a great opponent. Super cool guy. I was rooting for him in top 8. But it's just like Zen crushes that matchup, so not a big deal. I get to play Gravy on stream, Justin Koo. I think that match is actually very entertaining to watch, but I didn't feel like I did anything very special. Like I did get to go to a Chain 14, Chain Link 14, which I thought was exciting. But I think that game's worth watching because it's entertaining. But I just drew Warmongers. Like he opened terrible, and I drew Warmongers. That's the whole game. Then I played another game on stream for Starvo. The deck's pretty bad into Starvo. We just have like this strat where just like rip out Art of War, just play value. And like sometimes you get there like 25% of the time. I did not get there. And I just lose. Like a very long, boring game, in my opinion. Then we show up the next day. I'm excited to play LL some more. Playing Zen's been great. I proceed to just win all of my LL games. I play like Chain, and then I get to play Brody on Dio, and my deck just does 50 damage on turn 2. There's no skill here. Like nothing I did was like skillful at all. Like, and then the deck fails when I get into CC. One of it's on stream. You can see the Mario game. I don't have any qualms about how I played that game. The Mario drew like super hot into me. The one chance where I could have used my chess piece, I was using my chess piece for 5 damage when I could have just also drawn a blue and done 5 damage off my chess piece. So I decided to save it, and I don't think it made any difference in the game. And then my next 2 games I'm playing as a Gravy, and I'm playing as Syndra. And in both games, I have a turn where I'm holding 3 cards, and I say, hey, opponent, please don't discard this one. You can discard either of these 2 cards, but please don't discard this one because I win the game if I keep this card. And they just discarded that card. And that was it. That's the whole run. So at one point, I have 3 games to give. All my 3 games, it just goes the opposite of how I did in day 1. And then, of course, I win the last game to make my 4 grand and finish in 12th. But it was a fun run. I had a good time. I remember like failing and being like upset that my luck ran out, but I wasn't like upset with myself for the run. And there was like no turns where I was like, well, I wish I could have that turn back because like I made a massive mistake or something else. It was just more of like, I wish when he rolled the die, I'd shuffled the cards a little bit differently, or he had rolled a different number on the die. Like it's just, it was like such a joke of like how I got there and then how it finished that it did not feel like London. Like London felt horrific. It's like I made a deck choice ended up being wrong. Everything that possibly could go wrong went wrong, or like even my Zen Enigma match from the previous worlds where I like make a judgment call in the early game that's just wrong, and then it kind of snowballs the whole game out of control. It's like none of those things happened. I just played the game. My 20 cards wasn't good enough, and I lost. But the run was
we were
sick.
talking about this a bit over the weekend, where it's like, this is probably the most card gamey that FAB has ever felt like.
Yep.
Of just look at cards, see how they play. I'm not really like my deck is deciding how I'm playing for me.
I
was
wonder if
like
that's
one of
why
my
I'm
big
liking Assassin so much right now, because it kind of deviates from that a bit. Like, I had a hand of 4 blues, but one of them's a prognosis, so I get to like pretend like I have this super threatening turn.
Yep. I do
you
think
get that like bluffing mini game.
I do think Mario is really good for that reason.
Just feels like with Assassin, you get to kind of bluff a lot of hands, like Vino's saying. You get to deviate from your bad draws. You can pretend like they're good draws if your opponent believes you. So I've been enjoying that. And you have more like comeback from
Sometimes.
behind power than other decks, because you can just use all your block 3s, and then eventually if you strip their whole hand, doesn't matter about that 5 or 6 points you fell behind early.
You also do ask your opponent to like make the right decision sometimes.
Yeah, your bad
And
cards.
sometimes there is no right decision. Yep.
It's just like there's less game planning, it feels like, in the current like metagame and like the decks that exist in the meta, where it's not just like I'm playing towards a very specific thing that I've been engineering over the course of the game. I think that's what makes FAB great a lot of the time, that like I pre-planned all of this ahead of time, and now I can execute this game plan. If I wanted the top 20 kind of style, I'd just go play Magic or something, because that's like, that was one of the things I always had a problem with when I played Magic, where it just be like, I felt like I only played one meaningful choice per game, and the rest was just, play land, play 1-drop, play land, play 2-drop. Like my hand is just kind of playing itself. I'm not really a part of this game. I could just hit the auto button.
Probably the first time I felt that way, even when it's not my least favorite meta. Amsterdam meta will always be my least favorite meta, and hopefully it's always my least favorite meta. So far is what I should say. But at least then you did make decisions. Besides just like going off, sometimes it was like, do I hold this? Do I IP this? Because only the funny turn and the funny cards really mattered in that format. So there were actually decisions to be made in some cases. But for the most part, this one, the game's really felt really simple to play. Obviously, I'm playing KO. If you're playing Verdance, then it can be a little bit more complicated. But like playing Syndra, playing KO, playing like a lot of these decks are a lot simpler than what you're used to, and you're just literally just drawing your cards and just playing them in the same like you're not making long-term decisions.
Was that format more degenerate than LL at Worlds?
Oh, that's a good question.
No, you guys don't need to answer that. I'm just gonna let that sit there, and just people can think about that and go, "Ooh, that's tough." even them being compared is tough.
Yep.
Well,
it's just it
had needles in it, right? I think when needles are like a playable strategy, especially with no retrieve, that has to be just insanely degenerate, right? You're basically saying like, I'm gonna play this weapon that will destroy itself because I just need to have a power spike early enough to win the game. So I would say it probably is more degenerate. You also had when you have Starvo as like the policeman of the format, letting you actually play Flesh and Blood. It looks very different than New being the one who's like, quote unquote control deck of forcing you to play smaller hands. Because with New, you just don't get any agency. Whereas Starvo, the fact that they printed Base of the Mountain means like every deck kind of has a one turn, like, okay, I'm gonna blank your crazy like Fused Oaken or Crippling and like reset, as well as blocking out a hammer or playing through CLF is kind of, it just feels more doable than opponents literally looking at your hand and taking cards out of it, or just forcing you to lose a card due to the mask.
I agree.
Yeah, I felt like I was playing way more Flesh and Blood in LL than I did back then. Like every deck in that meta, as I described it like in my video ages ago, was ships passing in the night. You were actually playing Flesh and Blood with most of the decks in this meta. It was really just like Zen doing the funny like Scalata thing, which was the like broken thing. I think everything else was like, this is powerful but fine.
Yeah. So I think in LL, it ended up being weird because depending on, I think your LL experience was completely different depending on where you were in the standings. Because LL is in the middle of the tournament, you're not playing a real LL tournament. You are playing whatever meta the people who are in your bracket brought. So like, it's not like playing the calling where you start out and everyone is playing LL. And then only the LL decks beat the LL decks. And then as you keep winning, now you're playing against only other LL decks that have beat other LL decks. You just like started a new tournament, but the only people in your tournament were people who were like 5-0 or 4-1 or like whatever your record was going into LL. And it was just happened to be, the meta was just whatever they happened to bring with them. So in like the 5-0 bracket, there was like one Viserai. So like if you looked at the LL meta just for like the X1 5-0 bracket, you're like, oh, there's like no Viserai here. It was like a handful of Starvo, a bunch of chains just happened to be in that bracket. Then there'd be like a new, a KO, a Kano, like a couple of other just like Marlin, a couple other random decks, and then like one Zen. And it's just like some weird, and then like one Dio. So it's like some weird, not real LL meta that no one's ever tested before. So the tournament ended up being very weird from that aspect. And as you continued up, you're just like, what you're going to play against became limited. So normally when you're in a field, there'd be like, oh, I could play against any of these 50 people. But when you're like 5-0s and you're all going until like undefeated, your pool of people are like 3. There's like 4 additional people that you could play against. So your meta is completely different than anything you've ever tested for. It's just very funny to draw like 80 conclusions of what's strong in LL from like Worlds, because it's not like it was not a real LL format.
It'd be like
With that
playing
said-
on ladder or something where it's just like you're facing whatever you just happen to queue into.
Yeah. But what you could queue into was like only what the other people decided to bring. It's like very small. So it didn't match everything. But with that said, a couple of things stood out. One, Chain ended up being like the gatekeeper of like the X1 5-0 bracket. Like a bunch of people who did well in CC brought Chain. So they were just sitting there like, did you, like looking at everyone in that bracket going, did you bring something broken? Because if not, you can't beat me. And well, some people just decided not to bring broken things to the tournament. Like
Most people brought Starvo, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're like bringing Starvo, they're bringing New, they're just like losing to
Dromai.
Yeah, Dromai. They're just losing to the chains, or they also brought Chain and they're playing Chain Mirror. So like the chains are like beating everything up that because no one brought meta decks. It's just like hilarious. So with that, if you were in that bracket and you brought Chain, it was actually a pretty good time to play Chain. I think in like an actual LL event, Chain is a little weak. You're just asking people to not kill you before 3. Like turn 3. And then like, it was funny when I sat down to play people with Zen, they're like, oh, this is not a bad matchup. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This match is horrendous for you. I will win this matchup like 80-90% of the time. Like this was good before anything got nerfed.
Yeah, without any nerfs, I've like never beat a Zen in LL. That's Chain.
Yeah. So I just like got super fortunate that my bracket was only like 1 or 2 Starvos that I could possibly play, and I only saw one of them. I just kept seeing chains, beating them up, And then unfortunately there was no Viscerai. We played it to like target the Viscerai, but the meta was like the LL was like the fakest meta I've ever seen in my life.
What do you guys think about it being double constructed instead of constructed limited? I have some thoughts on this. I'm curious what you guys think.
I actually enjoyed it, but I just enjoyed play. I would have liked to play more games of Zen. I feel like if I got to play more games of Zen, I would have topped.
See, I had a very different experience in my Zen games, but I'm glad it worked for you. Zen
Well, I
did not
drew
like
cheat
me.
in the first 2 turns of every game. Of course, I had a great time. Like I said, I did nothing skillful in this tournament at all. Was in first place for like 6 rounds, and then just like my luck ran out, and then all the non-skillful things I was doing went the opposite way.
Yeah.
It was just,
Yeah, well, I mean,
but it was fun.
bans and unbans aside, I do enjoy preparing for constructed formats. I did miss like having the whole team working on the same thing. Like we had the house for the few days. It would have been nice if we all worked on draft together and could do a big meeting. We kind of did it siloed, which was also fun. Like Cody and I were just banging our heads against the wall all day on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was.
We played 10 hours of Starvo versus Zen
Just to
games.
prove it was like
no
winnable.
exaggeration.
Yeah, it was really rough, but it was fun. Like I love that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's
I
fine.
kind of did a similar thing with the Viscerai matchup on Dromai. I just like spent like a week on that matchup being like, I have to figure this out. If I can't figure this out, I can't play Dromai. And then it finally flipped him. I'm like, I'm locked. I'm in.
Yeah, I think it helped that the CC meta was so stale. Like it gave us time to figure out LL because that was so locked in already. Unless you're just kind of dirtling between decks for some reason.
Noah, you have any thoughts?
I have thoughts. First, I felt like the preparation for LL for me was kind of like preparing to do a raid in a video game where it's like Viscerai is like the big bad raid boss. And like I know all his attack patterns. He stacks up the chance and then like he does his one shot attack. He has like some ability to block. And I know my win condition is to, at least as Starvo, is like if I fuse the first 5 out of 7 turns, it's kind of like I'm doing my combo, attack pattern to kill him. So this is how I was like rationalizing all my testing of like, okay, I just need to defeat the boss. And I feel like it actually plays out that way in the tournament where it's like my finger slips off the button, like, oh, I let off the gas one turn, I lost.
Wait, is that why I like the format so much?
What's up?
Is that why I like the format so much?
Yeah, exactly. It's
just
literally
raiding.
what you spam. It's just your Final Fantasy like raid, but in card game form.
Oh,
Okay, that was the first thing. The second thing was that everybody talks so much smack about Starvo, dude. What's up with that?
Is this a weak deck? This is
That's
not very
bad.
good.
I don't know what to tell you.
it's the KO of LL.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I guess he deserves some amount of smack talk for that. But I felt like the whole constructed aspect, because like you said, Dan, that the format in CC was stale, it felt like we could dedicate more time to LL. But usually when I play these big tournaments that are a split format, I get more excited about limited because it's a known quantity what can happen. LL is, I felt like there was more like suspense of like there could be something crazy that we don't know about that could emerge. Whereas in limited, it's kind of, the ceiling is a little bit lower of what crazy things can happen because the card pool is so much smaller and you can just run drafts. It's not like someone has hidden cards that they just like removed from the draft pool that you didn't see like when you're doing test drafts like
No
there
booster
would be an
tutor.
LL, right? What's up?
No booster tutor. It's a magic card.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the preparation in that sense of in the physical day of the tournament, you have to be aware of there being more surprises, like people playing chain, for example, compared to doing the draft as the second format in the tournament. And I think overall, I would prefer to go back to limited as long as the limited format is, at least somewhat playable. But I didn't hate that they experimented with something. It's always good to keep your mind open, and maybe it could have been better.
I was kind of
personally-
dreading.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was kind of dreading going in playing LL. I like dreading the LL rounds, and then when I got in it and I actually started playing Zen, and I was actually really enjoying playing LL. It didn't hurt that I was winning my games and the deck was working, and I was doing the funny thing to the opponent, which I think is part of what is actually the fun part of LL. But I was just like, man, I remember how much I love playing Zen, because it's just like a tempo aggro deck that has defensive tools. So like even when I like fell behind like against Gravy, which I thought was a really good LL deck, that was kind of a surprise deck. Like we knew about it, but they put some new tech in there that I think made the deck pretty good. Like even when I fell behind, I had to block. It was fine. Like I can still come back and win. It's not like in CC where when you start blocking your hand, you just lose the game. Like it's just over because you're just giving them 5-card hands. You're hoping that they brick in order to come back into the game most of the time. And it was nice to be able to play a format and kind of a game and a game plan that let me play the style that I enjoy playing.
So I have like a couple thoughts on this. One is that I've actually been waiting for us to go back to mostly constructed for a long time. I really enjoyed Jersey, where it was just mono constructed. That was one of my favorite events. I do like it being more than one format, though. I think it is good to test more than one thing out of the players. And my main thing of like liking that it's mono constructed, though, is I haven't really liked very many draft formats in this game. I've been pretty vocal about that. One of the problems that I have with doing specifically LL or something akin to that for one of these is I think it's pretty tall of an ask if you're not a long-term and franchise player to catch up on that much all at once. Like, if you found out that, you're going to Worlds and you're going to be playing LL and you had joined this year, well, now I got to learn all of these decks that had previously LL'd in this span of time on top of CC. And that's just like a big ask to update that much matchup knowledge all at once. When you look at CC, all you're doing is updating your matchup knowledge of the newest set of decks. It's not that much matchup knowledge that you're updating typically. Maybe an old deck gets a buff or something, but it's pretty small what you're updating your knowledge on. I think this wouldn't be a problem, though, if there was an actual lead up of LL events during the year. Like, if we had like a couple of LL events at the beginning of the year and people like, how you guys had the calling that you went to and played Starvo. Imagine if that was like near the beginning of this year and we had like something else in the middle of the year. People got their matchup knowledge during that time period, and like they're not completely fresh in the format now. And now when they hit Worlds, they can, okay, let me really sink my teeth into the format, but I'm already kind of familiar with what's going on. It's not just starting from zero in the format. That's one hopefully good thing about Silver Age. Like, we're going to be getting seemingly a lot of events for that before the Pro Tour. So hopefully it's not just like cold turkey, let me learn the whole format all at once. And also it's probably quicker games because 20 life format, but that's just like a potential problem. And I heard some other people talking about that were newer to the game, that was an issue for them. For me, it was perfectly fine. I was like, man, I've been playing this game since Monarch. I know all of these decks. This is not an issue for me. I can figure this out really easily, but I can see how that's a problem for other people.
Agree. That you reminded me of something I wanted to point out. So people just like I've been complaining on this podcast since we started the podcast, but specifically for this item, I've been complaining about it since LL got announced, that Dio is completely busted in LL. And some people question me, what are you talking about? He hasn't showed up to any events. He hasn't done very well. And I was even pointing out, I'm like, these events are all fake. There are no Dio players. Like, no one brought Dio. Obviously, this is one of the best decks in the format. What's going on? Everyone's dumb. They're just like trying to hide the Dio. They're like, oh, I'm going to hide the Dio for Worlds and no one knows about this. Dude, everyone knew about this. Like, I went to any event that I went to that was LL, even my like local event that has 5 people at it, 3 of them are Dio. Combo Dio with system reset. Like, this is not like it was a completely not hidden deck. But I found it so funny the amount of people who had previously gone to Battle Hardens or other events that were LL that did not play Dio, that suddenly they're all on Dio like it's some like hidden Worlds deck. Just cracked me up. I just thought that was very funny. I'm like, come on, guys, we're past this. Like, we released a whole Metafy guide on our deck list that we played for Worlds. And I've been complaining about Dio since the beginning, but I just thought it was funny.
Honestly, I basically did the same thing too with my deck. Like, the Gravy deck that I brought was like 2 cards off from the one I had on Patreon. It was like, and I had mentioned one of the card changes in my Patreon chat, being like, yeah, after I made this list, I made a 1 card change and I'm doing this now instead. Like, I don't think like hiding stuff is that valuable in this game typically, unless you like really have a secret that no one's figured out. But like, it's so hard actually keeping a secret in this game, and then for it to be worth keeping, it's got to be a really big secret, like something of the Dio level that you just never played on Talishar, so none of the data got out there. Like, now that Fab Blazing is a thing, it's very hard to actually keep stuff secret. Like, for example, there was the a Tree Frog Dash deck that was floating around in LL, and everybody fucking knew about it in the event. It was like a secret amongst a group of people, and like everyone around me was just aware that that deck existed. Like, I talked to a bunch of people about it. They were like, yeah, that deck, I know this existed. I saw the data on Fab Blazing. I queued into it at one point and we copied the list, or someone mentioned it offhand and I just searched it and I found the card. Like, it's just, you can't hide shit that easy. Like, you basically got to play in TTS if you want to hide shit now.
Yeah, if you don't want to get surprised by decks at your local tournament, then you need FabBlazing.com, one of the sponsors of today's episode. They have the data. I can't talk about how many times at the team house specifically I heard the words, well, look up the data. We'll look up the data. What does the data say about first, second in this matchup? And it has been a tool that we've used the entire cycle. It is invaluable for testing. It's also invaluable for making sure you're not surprised by whatever decks are brought. But click on the link in the description below. I absolutely love the website. I use it literally every week.
Okay, speaking of Segway Man, there was a bunch of people that were talking about Fab Blazing on Twitter over the past like 24, 48 hours. I'm curious what you guys think about this, of the homogenization of data and how that's having an impact on the game. Because I think that's pretty interesting. It's not necessarily a negative thing, but it does change things drastically. And I remember that was something that happened in Magic years ago, where everything got homogenized way too quickly. And then we started seeing they changed how Magic Online worked with their posting a deck list, where they're like, for now on, we're only going to post like, I don't know, like 5 deck lists a day from Arena Championships, or not Arena, Magic Online like wins or something like that. And just to change how the data was getting out there. I'm curious what you guys think about how this is impacting the landscape of Fab.
But can't you opt on Talishar to not share your data?
Yes. But not everyone's going to do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we already have like a safeguard in place, right? Of if you don't want your stuff on Fab Blazing, you can just opt to not share it.
I have a controversial take. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I think if you're using Talishar, you should have to have your data published.
Why?
I think that's the trade of using Talishar.
You've been saying that, but why?
Because I think it is a public tool that is used for everyone to look at, and I don't like the idea of supposedly artificially limiting the data. It's still going somewhere. It can still be saved somewhere, and someone can still have access to it. It's not like you're just trusting that the site is just like not publishing it to anybody. When you do stuff like that, I would prefer everything is published, so we know 100% that like it's just all out there.
So it's a level playing field thing.
Yes, I want like a level play. Also, there's just not enough games. Like, none of this is real. So if you want to know, there are not enough Fab games played to actually draw almost any real conclusions straight from data. They can help you in making some decisions that you feel internally. They can help you sometimes look at some card choices, but we are not getting a 10,000 data set to actually learn these things from. We're getting 100 games. Like, look at how often people actually play these matchups with the cards that you're trying to test. It's like 100 games. It's probably helping you like not sit there and grind for 20 hours to draw a conclusion, where you can be like, okay, it looks like this is probably good in the matchup. Let me go test this now myself, instead of like taking 20 hours to get to, maybe I should test this.
Or you find a pattern of a type of card. Like, for example, oh, like all of the disruption is really high win rate in this matchup. Maybe I should look into that. Is there a type of disruption that works best for me? Or, oh, maybe the just go fast, push their life total down cards are better in the matchup. Just like the style of play might be what I'm looking at. Because I find the just strictly this card has a high win rate or something like that isn't really, I can't really, I have to take that with a grain of salt, basically.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to full trust the data with the sample, like Cody's saying. But I agree. It's a good tool. You have to be smart about how you use it and reinforce it with your own data. To your point there, Fino, like for Singer, for example, if you look at the Marionette matchup into it, the only, I think, clear conclusion that I see is that 3 blocks are better than 2 blocks. I think that's kind of undisputable. And it makes sense based on the game state. Like, if your hand doesn't convert or you need to block, they need to be 3 blocks. So at least you're stopping math triggers. On the other end, a card like Schism appears in the data to be the most impactful card against Verdants and other slow decks, which is definitely sometimes the case. But looking at a sample size of like 40 games, it's not really enough. And sometimes you play it in your Worlds deck and it loses you every game that you pitch it. So something
Yeah,
to
like
keep in mind.
it could be like cards that have a high win rate, but of course, when you cast that card, you win the game because it's a high impact card. But how often are you actually resolving it for its effect? I think a good example of that back in the day with Magic, again with the data, would be this bomb high costed card has a high win rate, but how often are you actually getting to the point that you're playing it? Because we're just looking at the win rate when cast.
Well, I think in this
Obviously,
game,
when it's cast, you win the game.
in this game, it more depends on what are the supporting cards around this card that you're analyzing, right? Like, I don't know, Command and Conquer in a deck that plays 10 blues versus 20 blues, for example, is like the data is always going to be better on the 20 blues because you can actually resolve the card.
I feel like if you are going to take advantage of the community's ability to let you figure out how to play the game, you have to give back with your data. That's like typically how I feel. I think if data scraping exists, and it only helps bigger teams, because they can have their own internal data on top of whatever is scraped as well. And I just don't think any of that is necessary. I think you should just have to just collect all the data, publish all the data. It doesn't hurt the game in any way. I think it makes it more enjoyable that people can like jump in and be competitive.
It can hurt. What happened in Magic was it homogenized too quickly, and then the game just instantly gets stale because we crack the meta in a week and nothing can change until the next set. Sometimes
I think that's
not FAB.
Yeah. This game is too complicated for, I think, that to be really the case. And there's like 20 heroes. Like, in order to be competitive in the game in a realistic way in which you're actually trying to find a deck that makes sense, it is unrealistic in a testing cycle to try and find every single deck and then be like, I'm going to test this against 20 different heroes with all different game plans and cards to try and figure it out. You need some assistance to be able to be competitive in a way that's engaging. If you would like people to actually find special decks and be able to like go to tournaments and have these special moments, you need to allow people tools that speed up the process. I think for this game specifically, that allow them to make those type of reads. Like, I mean, I did think about bringing like Kasai or something like that to the tournament, because I could look and I could see some data that like, okay, here's some ways that it is beating Verdant. So let me go test that myself now and see if this is something I want to bring. Before you just assume it can't beat that, and then like that avenue is closed because you just don't have the time to explore all these things. I think it actually creates the game, makes it more accessible to people than it makes it less accessible because it homogenizes data. I think it does the opposite. It allows, like, if you want to go in there, dig through things and find unique strategies or ideas or ways to combat something, here's a way that you can actually do it realistically.
Yeah, I think as the game currently is, it's a net positive.
Yep. Even in this simple meta, it was like, it's still, I don't think breaks the game in any way that is bad. With that said, please remove the ability for people to hide their data on Talishar.
Okay, I'll co-sign.
That's what you have to do to use community tools. You have to opt in your data for the community. And you're being selfish if you turn off your data.
That being said,
I'm gonna make a logical argument. I'll make the moral argument. Like,
you must accept all cookies.
Until they remove the feature, for sure, I'm hiding mine. I'm not gonna lie. But if they make it mandatory, I would enjoy it. But as long as other people are hiding, I might as well stay hidden.
Yeah, I just think that's overall just like not a good way to do it personally for Talishar.
Yeah,
I definitely messed up the data on some of the cards because I found out like a couple cards that were working for Dromai, but my win rate with them was so abysmal in the Viserai matchup that it made it look terrible on Fab Blazing. But I was like, no, trust me, it works. And then it started working, and I was like, okay, the theory panned out. I now know that this works. I don't need to put in a million games and like fix the data for it. Like, I don't give a fuck if anyone knows that this card is good.
Oh, I had a funny one like that too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like a week or two before Worlds, I was playing Fiddler's Green and Call to the Grave in my Mario list for Verdance. And I put up like 100% win rate over like 5 or 6 games. And then we check back in like a week later and we see a bunch more Verdance Mario games with Fiddlers and Colin. I'm not sure if I influenced anyone to try that, but it's actually quite good into Verdance. It's a little sus into other matchups, but that was just funny to see. That was like at the top of the chart if you sort by win rate, of course, because 100%.
Yeah, I wanted to give props where props are due. PCG killed it this weekend.
Yeah, nuts.
Absolutely nuts finish. Yakuza winning, which is pretty awesome for Worlds. He also had topped London, I believe, as well, which is pretty cool. Florin Christian, another great top. Obviously Majin Bay after his Nats win, getting into Worlds. Maximilian Klein, who is his third top?
Third. In like a year and a half, I feel like.
Yeah, just insane. It was cool to see Jacob Allen with his finish. I got to play against him. Ian Zhang, I thought after everything he's done in the community and a known figure, it was great to see him top Worlds. This is just like Dilk's getting in there for PCG as well. They have all PCG finals. And then Jimmy, I got to play against him with his chain deck as well, getting in there with the Gravy Chain. I think it's always good. I just thought it was like, yeah, this is a great lineup for Worlds.
Oh, it's such a good top 8.
I had a lot of people such a great top 8. The videos for top 8 were sick. A lot of like returning people that did well. A lot of veteran people, I think, because of LL, really got like just a natural edge in that. I did think that the chain deck that PCG came up with ended up working really well in what the winners meta ended up being, which was like they were just kind of the mid range of the winners meta, and since the winners meta was like 3 aggro decks, it was just like one Dio player, like just me on Zen, and that was about it. Everything else was just like other chains and Starvos and News and Marlins. It ended up being like actually worked super well. Unfortunately, in the top 8, you saw kind of the reason why I've been pretty down on chain, where the decks just like didn't beat anything else that was in the top 8.
Yeah, I do think this chain game showed that really well. That was at least like my saving grace. I was like, oh man, I guess we got it wrong. But then I watched the top 8 games. I was like, yeah, this is exactly why we didn't play it. Though I do think the overall meta too worked out pretty well for chain. Like Starva being the top play.
Yeah.
Just dodge Viserai, right?
No, it worked out. I remember seeing their list and I was like, hey, it's like my exact list in the February that I was testing with like the mix version and all the 2-for-6s. And I'm like, it's a good version. So if you're going to play chain, they played, in my opinion, the absolutely best version of chain. But I definitely wanted to give them all credit for great performance, and PCG just killed this event.
Yeah,
a lot of return people as well.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. I did my best, and luck ran out. I was like, oh, I would love to have been in this top 8 with my Zen.
Your biggest problem, Cody, is that you still have hair here. If you would have shaved all this and just kept the mustache, then you would have succeeded.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
True. Got to go in next time, Yakuza style, just the mustache.
The key card. Well, Dilks also has mustache. The key card to having success is just going mono mustache. That was the real secret to winning the tournament.
Okay,
if we would have gone in the testing house and everyone just got out the razor and start shaving, so we all just have mustaches, we would have come out on top for sure.
That's the play for Japan, right?
Yeah.
The day before, just shave everything but the mustache. Just mustache crew.
Glad I'm skipping that one.
To be fair, though, by the time we get to Japan, we might have evolved into a beard meta, so we got to keep our eyes peeled.
We got to see what the meta looks like.
Yeah.
We got to find all the people who have topped events. So what we need to see, everyone's trying to scout.
Bring your
decks.
razor with you to the event. Go to the bathroom when you find out what the meta is.
Everyone's trying to like get an edge on the decks. We need to go in. We need to take a look at everyone who's top 8 to tier 4 and then see what the collective facial hair meta looks like.
Yeah.
We could probably ask them for selfies ahead of time. No reason.
Just be like, Ethan, hey, we need to recruit you. We're making an advertisement for all the teams. We need to collect headshots from everyone for.
I think we solved it. I think we're winning. We're winning Japan Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Oh, now everyone knows our secret. That's how we're gonna. They're gonna switch it up. They're gonna like show up like the
Quick, hide the data.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Quick, hide the
They're gonna
data.
show up on Thursday and then shape differently the next day.
yeah.
Oh no.
You guys have another new meta you got to solve now for that event. How's
Yeah,
that
Silver
feel?
Age. So far excited,
Okay.
but I haven't played any of it yet, so I could be unexcited by the time we get there.
New
The
untested
only
format,
thought I
what
put
could go
into
wrong?
this, the only thought I put into this format was when I got to the hotel Sunday and I was just chilling in the bed and Ricardo was just telling me what the cards that were legal in the format were, and I was like, huh. And I just kind of like half brewed a deck in my head and then went to sleep. That is the entirety of
Done
the
a lot
thought I
of
put into the
half-brews.
format.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do a bunch of looking at it on stream and shit, just like make some content for it. But like, I just got back home, not really thinking about that yet.
Yeah, I think it's a really chill format if you want to just play like 1 million games, because the games go by like so fast. It's relatively like low thinking required, I think, for a lot of the games. So I think it'll be a fun format, and I'm hoping that it inspires a lot of people to come out and play at like Battle Hard and Calling Plus. That maybe they were just more like casual like Armory players more, but like if they really have their Silver Age brew that they enjoy, and instead of having to spend $600 on a deck, they can put that money towards like the whole travel and experiencing the big tournament. I think that would be a huge win.
Of course. $20 ticket to the $2 million Pro Tour.
Yeah.
World Tour.
I mean, $20 ticket's a little bit fake because
$20
like,
ticket.
surely you have to buy a plane ticket and a hotel, but like in theory, $20 deck box with cards in it.
But no deck box, just cards.
Who said you needed?
True.
Who said you needs a deck box? Go Yuanji style pocket deck.
Yeah.
Pocket deck.
It'll be cool to see how that format develops. It seems like Pen is a pretty big deal, though, so it's kind of hard to take it too seriously for now.
Mhm.
At the Monarch sealed event on Sunday, I went a step further. I went unsleeved back pocket deck.
Yeah, old school style.
Get the rubber band.
Dude, you should have done what I did at Super Slam World Premiere. In the last day side event, I went no deck. I just left it in the hall somewhere.
Oh, do you know, it'd be fire if you like you use the back of your hoodie as like your deck box, and you just like pull up to the match, just like boom, slam it on the table.
No, even better. Boom.
Yeah, just, like, throw it at your
Cards everywhere.
Oh.
I think I did that to one of my friends at a ProQuest or something, where I just like gathered all of the like split tokens and I just was quietly putting them all on his hood over the course of the tournament. And then he like later put it up. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Okay, I think most people have seen that Syndra obviously won Worlds. It has won everything. That's probably the biggest mistake that we made. If you were going to win the tournament, you probably had to play Syndra, since it's won every event, except for one.
I still think it's a
Like,
bad deck.
Well, I don't know about that, but the data says that you cannot win a tournament unless you're playing Syndra. So that's actually where we all made a mistake. But I'm hoping at December 15th, there will be some changes to this format, because I do not want to play an RTN on this exact same format. Not because necessarily like the format is horrific. I think it's just like a top 20 fest, but you can play a bunch of different decks supposedly to win at a local level. But man, it's boring. It's so boring. We need to switch it up a little bit.
Be in our wish list. Go.
Chum. That's it.
Gem?
Chum.
Chum. Well, you can't just ban
Just
Chum.
Chum.
You got to give like Tipples back.
Chum, Scabs,
Ban
Arclay said
ban
no.
Chum. Give me back Tipple. Deal.
No.
Deal?
Just ban Gravy, man. The deck's just a big mistake.
They
Ban
should
Wayne.
So okay, if they just ban a couple cards in the three best decks, like let's say for example, they ban Chum, Fruits of the Forest, and Brand with Cinderclaw. Just like I would say those are probably some of the best cards, like Chum being, probably the best ally, Fruits being a card that is played at more than 3 because it's so good, and then similar logic with Brand. just like toning down the power level in the sense of Gravy because they already hit consistency, and then just hitting the consistency of decomposing and consistency of being able to play all these non-draconic cards in your Syndra deck. Do you think that would actually like help anything, or it would just these decks would still be the best? They would just be slightly worse, but still like be winning the tournaments.
I think if you ban Chao Mario's is
KO might become the best.
Would you say that?
I said if you actually ban Chao Mario's is like overwhelmingly the best deck, unless Florian comes back somehow. And I'm here for
Okay,
it.
so would you suppose that we then hit a card in Mario too? Just like I'm saying, like in
No,
this
he's down
theoretical
bad
world
enough
of a
already.
ban list,
No, there's
like
not a-
I just don't see how I don't see
Unban
how a ban
bonds.
list can make any sense.
He's both the best tech, but down bad.
Yeah, I would definitely unban bonds as part of this change.
No, but let's think about this, right?
Mm.
How can a ban list actually fix anything outside of them just banning cards from all 4 to 5 of the top best decks?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's
don't
nothing
think
to
that's
fix
accurate.
other than Gravy's entire deck being absurd.
I think you could. There is a world where you could just hit Verdance. Because I believe Verdance is holding back decks that beat Syndra. Because they can't beat Verdance. So I think if you were to only hit Verdance, you would also let Syndra still exist at the same power level that it's at. Because I think the power level is kind of okay. It's a little high for the current format in consistency. But it's like, I mean, I'd get rid of the spec.
Yeah, I was
because
gonna say
think
the spec
that's
as well.
busted.
So unnecessary.
Yeah, but like that's not a real tuning of the deck. You're just like taking out a spike turn, which I think is important. So I think if you did that, but you just like you really kneecap to Verdance a bit, you could see things like Slippy and Victor and come back in that really like Syndra just can't handle like these decks it does lose to. And then you could have more of like maybe Gravy is inconsistently holding back now some of the other decks from just running over the meta, and you have more of a triangle thing starting to happen. But it's just like Verdance, I think, is holding back a lot of the things that could be played.
Okay, so
agree.
when you say fix, I think that implies there's a problem. So we should identify if there is a problem and what. Because I think by and large, the biggest problem is just a staleness level, not a balance issue.
Boring. Yeah.
Yes.
There are balance
So-
issues though. They're just not like the overall is fine.
So that's what I'm going to get to next. If it's not just a boring factor, if it's a balance issue, the only things, I don't know why I'm holding a box cutter. The only things that really come to mind, you're going to agree with my BNR takes. Don't you give me back my tipples. The issues that I see is Verdance being a little too heavily tuned. Starting the game with your opponent down 9 life, basically, it's a little too much. Maybe Syndra's a little too consistent. I don't really think Syndra's personally an issue. I think the deck is just good. It's just a good deck. Like, I don't think it's oppressive or anything. It's just good. Gravy being either the best deck ever made or a pile of hot shit, I think is an issue. So it's hard to game plan against, and it's oppressive to a lot of decks, and when it does the funny thing, just no deck in the game can beat it. And then it's a question of, do you want to specifically bring up any decks beneath? I don't think there's any decks beneath that really need bringing up, like anything that needs to be unbanned. So like what I would do first with the Verdance thing is, I don't think you need to hit the consistency of Verdance decomposing or anything like that. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's the starting the game up 9 life. So I would probably go for Waning Moon if I were to hit something. It's probably actually Striders, but like we all know they're not going to hit Striders because they don't want to take $100 out of everyone's pocket. I think if they could spawn $100 in everyone's pocket that owned a Striders, they would hit that instead. But so I think it's Waning Moon. I think if you wanted to make Syndra a little less cringe, it would be Wrath, like you were kind of mentioning. That card's just like, why does this card exist? And then for Gravy, I personally think that the experience playing as and against Gravy improves if you lower the ceiling, increase the consistency. When the deck just does what it's supposed to do every game, but it's not ridiculous or hot shit, I think that's better for everyone.
Gravy would need such
So
an
I would-
overhaul though now. It'd have to be like ban Chum, ban Conk.
3 cards.
What's the third one?
Waning Moon, Wrath. Sorry, 4 cards. Ban Chum,
Mhm.
unban one set of tipples.
Ban
Maybe
Conk, right?
something else out of Gravy. I don't think they're gonna hit Conk. I don't think Conk is the
ban
problem
You have to
either.
ban the whole deck. Like I think it's like so unsalvageable.
Conk also just isn't the problem.
Ban chart.
I think
Who cares about Conk, man?
if you really wanted to hit something, it wouldn't be like if you wanted to lower power level of Gravy, it's not Conk. You would hit the blue go agains if you were to hit something, because then that makes it less consistent at like generating a lot of value with the allies, and it makes Prismatic Leyline not just like an auto include in every matchup. If you make Prismatic Leyline suck, the deck's power level is significantly lower.
I have a hot
They might
take for
ban
you then.
Leyline.
I think you're underestimating how much worse the Gravy deck power gets when Chum is gone. I think it might be unfavored into Marlin. Like, just to let you know, if you just take Chum away. I think there's a lot of decks like this that just taking Chum away lowers their win percentage by a lot. Because they use that to
but
buy
that's
a
fine.
turn.
But
I
that's
know, I
fine.
agree. I'm agreeing with you. I think the two other people in this podcast are underselling maybe how big of a power hit like Gravy takes by Chum going away. It just loses a bunch of random matchups all of a sudden.
I
That's
was just
good.
trying to make the point that the deck is
I agree.
nonsense. Banning Chum would
Yeah.
be enough for sure, but all the cards in the deck are
Yeah.
just silly.
You do not even need to spawn the $20 bill in my pocket for each Chum. I will just take back my tipples and be happy. I just want the deck to function. I'm crashing out playing this deck, man. Every game I'm like, just I just want to play the game.
We need to have like a pause there about headphone users.
Yeah, I
Be warned.
agreed. That was a choice.
Good luck salvaging your eardrums.
They're gone.
Uh,
Noah, what do you think?
Just-
What do you think? They
Just
should
like
do?
my sanity.
what do I think they should do?
Yeah, you called it right last time. So what do you think they should do?
Oh no, man.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Yeah, what are they doing, Noah? Since you are the one who influences what they actually do. No one was banning bonds until you said it.
Oh no, you give me too much power, man.
Yeah, I
all
think
that
it's
power.
clear now that that was because of the armory deck, right?
I'm no Spider-Man.
I'll Venmo
Oh, you
you
think
if
it's the armor deck?
you get.
I don't know. The armory
I'll
deck is
Venmo
like
you.
kind of garbage now. I feel like if the yellow can't copy
No, I'll
bonds, I
Venmo-
don't know what the point is.
What's up, Ina?
I'll Venmo you if you get Scabs banned.
Oh, I'm the worst person to campaign for that. I banned it myself. I told myself I'm not going to put it in my deck regardless of its ban list status. So I'm not your number one advocate for that. Wait, you're talking about armory decks? I need to think about what we're going to ban so we can talk about armory decks first. Why is every armory deck just unplayable? Basically, every armory deck is like a card gets banned immediately or it's unplayable. Like
That's a good
for
question.
right now, the Rhinar deck, I play Brute. I don't care about getting any of those cards. They're all the worst cards of all time.
They're pretty
Why
good
would
for
anybody
OTK
play those
Rhino,
cards?
though.
You said they're good if you play Rhinar?
For OTK
Okay,
Rhino,
OTK Rhinar
Like
is
yellow.
either unplayable dog shit or so busted it's gonna get cards banned.
It's terrible in OTK Rhinar.
Is there like beat chest with go again? That's like insane in that deck.
Why is that insane?
When you play Berserk combo.
Yeah, he's talking about like an LL format.
I know, but like that's not actually good. The reason the Berserk combo is good is because when you play Pulping, it says draw discard,
Yeah.
but when you have Berserk, it just says draw.
No, these are
When
like
you play
consistency
Beat Chest, it
pieces.
says 0. They didn't print any Beat Chest cards that actually generate you advantage. They're all terrible. They'll just say like discard a card to get +2. It's like actually a meme.
I see.
So
Well, I share your sentiment
And
for
the
the Slippy deck.
the Slippy deck, and then there's been 1 million decks that came out. Like people don't even remember the Pleiades deck came out. It was like such a joke.
That's because, well, do you think Pleiades becomes more playable if Gravy doesn't have Chum?
Pleiades
No.
becomes not playable because she has one word at the bottom. It says Guardian.
Also, Chum is
Also-
not relevant to that matchup.
Yeah, all the
I-
things
I
pop with the
agree.
card anyway. Yeah, it's terrible. Okay, so there's armory.
I
deck
think it's a
thing.
win personally because
I
I've
mean,
stopped buying
Gravy's
them.
armory deck was insane.
That's what I'm saying. It either gets cards immediately banned, like Gravy,
Yeah,
or it's unplayable.
Dio or
The
Dio.
Dio, exactly. Yeah. Aurora, like the card came out incorrect, and then she basically got banned. Like
Yeah.
the whole deck got banned.
Yeah, like either something would have gotten banned or they just let the hero LL. Same
Yeah.
same thing.
I think what we would need, I'm going to come around to getting to a real card, but I think basically what we need in the game right now is if you look at like Jacuzzi's deck, that one, the Cinder deck, the deck is just like maximum disrespect. It's just like, I'm doing my thing and I don't really care what you're doing. I think we just need to have a ban list that allows strategies that slow the game down to be viable in the meta. Strategies that block cards every turn and actually play like that. I'm going to block and attack, or I'm going to block and play a non-attack that disrupts you. Those strategies are just like not really viable for the most part outside of Verdance, but that's only viable because of the fact it just kills you with Striders.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Go ahead.
Are you saying we should unban bonds?
You could unban bonds. That's something that could happen. Other things would need to happen, but I think you could unban bonds.
I agree.
If you're going to unban bonds, I feel like you should ban Kiss of Death. That card's like the actual problem card.
Okay, you've had enough, Noah. Let's move on to questions.
Because when you talk about Kiss,
Like,
let's
terrible
think about the difference between the cards, right? Like when you talk about Kiss of Death, Kiss of Death is the one that's responsible for the extreme offensive overlap when you just like put all these cards that aren't really intended to work on attack actions on it, and you can flick it. Compared to Bonds, where Bonds is a card that's like made for disruption. It's not doing over 20 damage for the most part, right? Like outside of extremely specific situations, it's tearing apart your hand, but you're kind of capped on your damage. Whereas Kiss of Death is like in the context of Black Widow, tearing apart your hand and dealing you like half your life total in one turn.
I mean, it's not. You just like put your cards in front of it, and then it's the same thing as bonds.
And then it gets +6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you take like
you can
2,
use
and
Tarantula
that's it.
You can use Tarantula Toxin. You can use Savor Bloodshed. Like Bonds doesn't have cards outside of just a Nick. It doesn't have this like huge wealth of cards that give it +4 to +6, like you do with Kiss of Death. So I think if you want to balance it in the sense of like keep Assassin as like the disruptor instead of the big damage person, then you should go with you can go with unbanning Bonds, and then you have to ban Kiss of Death. And then I wouldn't do any of this, by the way. This is purely to appease you, Dan. I would just ban Kiss of Death in general.
Yeah,
and
this
also
is a
still keep
horrible
Bonds
take.
banned.
I don't understand what's happening. Why just like hate all the decks that I play? Do you work at a
Betrayal.
LSS now? What happened? You got a new job?
No.
Yeah.
I do hate all the decks you play, huh? Is that really true? Are you just like
Seems like it.
gaslighting me?
I
I feel like eventually I end up either playing them or you play the decks that I play. I don't know. Anyways, I'm trying to think more about the cards that should get banned. I think the ones that I listed are pretty good. Like Fruits of the Forest, I think tampers Verdance's power level a lot in that it really hampers her ability to get online. Kind of one of like the supposed drawbacks of Earth decks is because a lot of the Earth cards don't have Go Again, you're supposed to have to like wait a decent amount of turns to get your hero power online. But when you can just like spam, throw your whole hand in the graveyard as fruits for at least decent rate, and when your hero power is online, you're doing kind of on rate, sometimes even true damage. I think that's like a card that could bring her more in line with other stuff, as well as lessen some of like the high roll turn like 0-1-2 plays. Yeah, Bancham obviously. And I think you could just let KOLL. Probably during this next RTN season, he'll get there, if not getting pretty close. So I don't really think anything needs to be hit there.
Also, whatever they do in the shakeup probably leads to KO being even better. Because like if you bring down the power level of the big three, then well, obviously the next hero after the big three gets better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you can do to buff something like Jarl. He's just the only ice bastion we have left, but it just felt so nice playing LL with ice. Like I get to actually like force my opponent to engage with me in the game of Flesh and Blood when there's ice involved.
I mean, you're playing like
I miss ice.
historically the most broken start and play pieces in the game. That probably helps.
Agree. I like that.
It's
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
it's like
Can't
Mask
have
of
Kiss of
Recurring
Death,
Nightmare.
but Stalagmite's totally fine.
Yeah,
So is Winter's
Stalagmite
Wail.
and Winter's Wail and like Mask of Recurring Nightmares. Those were in Cornet Peak. Those have all been like nice tools of just like making sure we're not just going crazy with 5-card big hands. I like that.
Cool. Anything else on what we should ban before we get into some podcast questions?
I just hope they make sense. And they're not for
Well,
the sake of like an armory deck coming a year from now that isn't impactful anyway.
Do you think they're gonna do the same ban of human beings for RTN season as it did at PQs?
I do not think so. I hope so. I hope not. You can't ban 4 people at every
Yeah, it's
event.
kind of wild.
Like there'll be no events.
Yeah.
The game is not big enough to support banning 4 people from every RTN.
I agree.
I mean, in some areas of the world, it's not even big enough for the ban one person.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of felt like that way this season, that every time one person got banned, it actually banned like 3 additional people who travel with them. So like we were already banning like 4 people from every event. By the time you got to the end of the season, there's like 12 people showing up to play the game. And you're like, dude, where is everybody? They're like, well, their ride can't come here and they can't come. And they decided to go to this other like Battle Hardened instead because they couldn't play the thing. So like a bunch of people didn't show up.
I didn't show up.
You did not. Okay, let's get into some podcast questions. These are asked by premium members of our Metafy. If you'd like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, find the 3 decks that we put out every single month. Find our Metafy guide on KO, which we released, and we also played at Worlds. So we're putting the actual juice out there. Feel free to join in at the link below. First question here is from Wardo77. If you could summon an on-demand dev talk on any topic, what would it be and why?
The topic would be why. The past year, just why.
I would take anything.
Should I get the? Should I pull up the Trevor Baker tweet? Like we were promised a dev talk in October about all the OP stuff and said we got 2 hours of Silver Age. That's what I want. Tell me why, like Dan said, like this is nonsense.
So yeah, I think just about like the OP changes that they were testing out this year, some of the rationale behind it, and what they plan to do in 2026 for events. Like when they talk about Silver Age, we have ideas for, okay, it'll just at a basic level be probably 35-minute rounds. You just like play your 1 game of Silver Age. We have like the community voting thing, but I think having a lot of the information in a referenceable dev talk would be much better to at least hear. I feel like when you hear it from someone, you're understanding more of the intent behind why they're choosing to do stuff, as opposed to reading like a paragraph or just a sentence or two. It seems like questions are left unanswered. Not necessarily that they would answer your questions in real time in a dev talk, but when they're talking about it, I feel like you get more of the sentiment behind their decisions, which is always nice.
Yeah, I mean, LL direction. I'd like to know, like, is it over? Or we're gonna try again?
It's over. They could just tweet, it's over, and then we'll never.
Yeah, but I'm
have to
worried
do
they're
it
just
all
gonna like
again.
not talk about it for a year, and then it'll be like, hey, look, LL Pro Tour is back.
No, it won't happen. 35
Yeah,
people show up to a Battle Hardened to play LL. It's dead.
I'm really worried
I would
that
think
like
so,
their
too.
takeaway from all of this is, oh, people don't want LL, when it's not necessarily that. It's people don't want a format that's run that poorly. Like the whole format was a joke. Like run it better. Like I want LL. I think people just want to play good games of FAB. If you make LL a good format, people will want to play it.
Yeah, I think just make it a con
I wanna-
format though. Yeah, like a World Tour format, but not the premiere event. Like some kind of special side event.
At least a couple callings or something.
Yeah, calling's fine. It
Weird.
could be its own thing where it's got like its own dedicated gold foils, like they're doing with the showdowns.
I would like to know the roadmap of replacement heroes. When can I flip cheese again? I got you let me flip chi this weekend, and I want to flip chi again.
Well, you have a $20 ticket to the $2 million World Tour where you can flip cheese.
Oh my god! Speaking of which, every time someone killed one of my dragons, I kept flipping it over for Watery Grave. I kept having to stop myself. I was like, "Why are these face down?" Oh, my bad.
There's like the whole set that has LL'd for a while now, and I wonder if when we're ever getting replacements for them.
Tales of Aria.
Do you think they actually know the answer? Like, do you think they could really have a dev talk of like, because James put out the tweet about Dromai, right, being released in 2027. But do you think they
Mhm.
have an idea of, okay, here's even 2026? Do they know like we have these 3 core sets coming out? Here's what we're going to release in all of them, and it's like locked in right now, or do you think they make changes on the fly?
Mm, I bet they don't
Well,
have
they
replacements for most of the heroes.
well they probably have the broad strokes ideas for multiple sets already like mapped out. Like we've had a content cycle in Fab for like uh, the entire time of Fab, I think. Of we only know what the next set is, right?
Yeah, they're definitely
You
several sets ahead though.
yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if they know what like we are locked on these are our next 3 sets coming out. We might be tweaking some things on, say, the third one still because it hasn't gone to print yet. The first one is ready to go. The second one is like in the middle of going to print. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that because that just logistically makes sense,
Yeah, I
especially
was thinking more of
given.
a sense of like, do they plan to release sets such that they, based on their like internal testing, have good, feelings about those heroes from those sets, or just maybe some expansion slot cards from those set, or in the case of this next set coming out, just the entire concept of buffing certain classes. Do they plan out sets with the anticipation of, okay, here it's really going to shake up the meta? Because it felt like this year it wasn't really the case that happened. Like just thinking about um high seas and super slam, I felt like going into high seas the meta wasn't in a place of how I feel today, where we need something new to shake it up. Like there was plenty of decks you could play. It wasn't like a 100% solved game. Um, and so then now we have a new set coming out. Do you think that they're intending on this set being very different than Super Slam and actually just shaking up the whole game? And like, is that their plan for 2026? I guess this is kind of what I would like them to answer in the dev talk. Like, do they plan on basically saying, okay, with each set, we're going to treat it uh like an actual like patch update for a video game, where it's like, okay, here's like the new stuff coming out, and like it'll drastically change up the way the game is played instead of introducing a couple of pet decks to play at Armory.
Yeah, I'd be curious to be on fly on the wall to like know if they think that the heroes that they make are actually playable a lot of the times. Like
Mhm.
Just Gravy it has come out as a playable hero in the last couple sets. And again, we seem to think that they didn't even test Rainbow Tipple. Without that, the deck is kind of mid. You know, the other what like 6 heroes that we've had added to CC since then of the other 2 from that set, Valda, and then the ones from Super Slam, 7 heroes. All of them are terrible. And I'd be curious to know if they thought these were going to have an impact on the meta, and then they were surprised when they didn't.
It's basically just whether they intend on adding power creep or at least like power parallel, or if they intend on just being very conservative on printing the good whole decks. They've printed some cards that are powerful, but not like whole decks that are powerful.
It seems like their current strategy is like, let's give you the concept of the hero,
Yeah.
see if you guys can figure it out and it's good. Oh, it's not good. Okay, here's some expansion slot cards to eventually make it good, and then it'll catch up eventually.
Yeah, it feels like all these new decks, they just release them. Like even we look at Puffin, right? Puffin got that new card Backspin Thrust and like immediately was bumped up a percentage point. It seems like all these new decks that we get are just they have like maybe 36 cards that you're happy playing. And then you just have to fill out the rest with something.
It's like
Whereas the other
the
more
Dusk Till
established heroes,
Dawn.
you're at like the like 48 to 52 good cards, and then you just have a little bit of space.
It's like the Dusk Till Dawn design space of like, here's half a hero because we don't want them to be broken.
Yeah. I really don't like that. It's so like unsatisfying because it's I guess cool from a sense of you get that feeling of like as an individual like, oh, I got in at the ground floor when the hero sucked and like I had to struggle because I didn't have all my good cards. But why does that need to be a mechanic? You could also just have the hero be like fully functional out of the gate, and then instead in future sets introduce slightly different ways that you can play the hero. Like imagine with Mario, how we had like you have the way where you can play with a bunch of stealth cards and like attack reacts that work on stealth, or you can play the build that's just like dagger focused. There's like two different styles because the hero had a pretty wide card pool right out of the gate. It'd be cool if like other heroes had that similar sense of like it's completely playable, and then as we release more stuff, it becomes like you can take it down different avenues.
I think Dromai and Icelander are probably the only two examples of this that I actually didn't mind, where like they came out and they were underpowered comparatively to what was currently legal in CC. And then once a couple things rotated, they were immediately very good. And it was basically just waiting for like Prism to LL or like one of the busted Arya heroes to LL. And like, okay, now this is a real deck. It always was a real deck, but we had a couple outliers that needed to go first.
Yeah, there's a difference between this is a good deck, but there's a hard counter that's like highly played in the meta, and Lyeth. Like there's like, and I want Lyeth to be playable so bad, but it is, and I don't even have good hopes that it'll ever be an actual playable deck, because I don't know if you can make a 5-card hero actually playable in the game. But like that's a big difference, and we don't see that currently.
Yeah. Very good.
Marlin is the closest to like a deck that is like slowly becoming more playable out of those sets over time.
And
Yeah.
Puffin.
Sure. Yeah, Puffin had some things, but it's like Marlin was actually playable in LL. It did, it did work in LL, and then it's been showing up in CC as well.
They're both close.
So at least yeah, agreed. Okay. Scary Super Cringe asks, please tell about the choices of KO and Zen for Worlds. Well, pretty easy. KO, as we've said a bunch of times, is it's fairly consistent, but it is a very powerful deck that basically can win every single matchup. And you can't play around KO. It basically neutralizes the skill of the person that you're playing against, because there is no way to like play around KO in any meaningful way. It has a lot of start in play effects that are very strong. And I think the Yuanji and Noah's pick of putting in 8 vigorous smash ups for the Syndra match made that matchup significantly easier than it used to be, and actually pretty favored, and with some different strategies going first and second that made, no matter if you won or lost the dice roll, you had a game plan that was repeatable and something that you could do, that I found to be a good way to play the tournament. Also, like, it didn't matter what I played against. Like, I beat Verdances, I beat Gravies, I beat Dios. I also lost to a Gravy and lost to a Syndra. It was just like, if you're going to play top 20, this thing with a bunch of great armor is like good to play.
Indeed.
Also, other people's builds are bad, and I think we had an actual good one. So
Yep.
that people weren't ready for it. Also, all the Marios thought they were favored. Even casters were like mentioning how Mario's like super favored into that matchup. I think that's like a joke. I don't think they're favored at all. We did run games.
We played a bunch at the house.
We played at the house. You lost all of them. From the house? Yeah, you lost. You won 0% of them.
Wait, what did we play? 2 games?
Yeah, 0% of them. You went first and second.
Look
lost
at my
both
FAB
of them.
rating.
He hid the house data.
I'm like 10-3.
Mm-hmm. Zen? Dan, you want to talk about Zen a little bit?
Oh, I just did
Want
it
me to
because
talk
you
about
did
Zen?
it,
Okay.
more or less. No, I mean, it's a powerful deck. It counters Viserai pretty hard. And we expected Viserai to be very heavily played. More so than it actually showed up. And that's it, really. We thought Starvo was a poor choice for the tournament. And that ended up being the most played deck, so a little bit wrong there. I don't know. The deck's just strong. It's fast.
Yeah.
Puts every deck on a 2 to 3 turn clock. Zen State does work still
Well,
into Rune Blades.
Funny enough, the Zen pick ended up being good for other reasons than we chose it. I really thought there was going to be like 30% Viserai or more, like 30 to 40% Viserai from everyone that I talked to. Everyone's very high on playing Viserai. That ended up not being the case, and Starvo was the most played, so I was completely wrong there. We made the Starvo matchup probably around 30%. I think if we had another week, we could probably get that a little bit better. But it just like crushes Viserai. I think I'm like 80+% into that. I think if you draw a Chi on turn 1 or 2, you just win the game every single time, basically. And then it's great into Chain. Chain basically can't do anything to beat you, especially with the way the deck functions now. And then a bunch of these rogue decks, you just have game into them. Like you can beat Dio, you can beat Nu, you can beat Kano, you can beat Marlin, and we put D-Reacts in the deck because that's what we like to do. And then it also won the calling, so it seemed to also have good experience. So in the Draw My matchup was like a coin flip. It's like whatever.
Oh, and I mean, the real appeal, right? We're the best Warmongers deck. I think what we
Yes,
saw happen
absolutely
was,
the best Warmongers.
yeah, I think a lot of the field called that Warmongers deck would not be popular in the meta, which is true. And I think we called that people would play decks that are weak into Warmongers, which was also true. So I think that's the big appeal for Zen is he's probably the best Warmongers playing deck, and then you also support 2-cost disruption really well, which we saw pretty popular throughout different decks at the event.
Yeah, disruption was really good in the format. Just all the decks were multiplicative scaling damage decks, so saying no, you can't do exactly what you want to do was extremely powerful.
King of Mice asks, in the downswing of competitive season, what are the best FAB soft skills for mid-level players to improve on while there's no specific tournament to target?
One that I'm always telling like my locals or people that I'm coaching to work on as in like early on like learning of the game, mapping out what your opponent is doing and why they're doing it. Like if they block with a card or pitch a card, like suss out why they're doing what they're doing, and that'll tell you about what's still in their hand and what they're putting in arsenal. That's like such a big edge that you can gain.
Yes, I agree. Especially given that we have Syndra in the meta, you can think about like, why are they playing this card first? Why are they playing this card second? What does that mean that they probably have as 3 and 4? Because you have to like win most of those turn cycles. So you have to be able to know, because they did this as Chainlink 1, here's what I can expect as 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, like when I'm testing with people too, what I'll try doing is when they do something that's odd to me, and I'm like, I don't understand why you would do it this way. I just straight up ask them, like, why? What does this mean? You did this instead of a normal thing. What does that mean? Why? What's could possibly be your hand texture that would cause you to do this? Like, oh, you did this. Does that mean that you have 2 chain enders in your hand on Syndra? Like, what else could this possibly mean? And how can I see that and make an informed block because of it?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, an extension of this. Yuanji and I were talking about this on the ride home, but just thinking about what the damage range of your opponents is on a given turn cycle. So this comes up a lot, like when you play KO, knowing about when it's proper to break your sash, break your boots, just make a play that's more aggressive. Because you think about, when you think about like Verdants, for example, their damage range on a 4-card hand is usually around like 10, I would say, at most. Um, between like 6 to 10 of actual like damage that they're dealing to you, not necessarily value gained. So you can think about, okay, if that's their damage range and I'm at say 28 right now, I know that I have around like 3 turns before I'm in that range where I'm going to die. So I can make a play now with that like consideration in mind. Then you take it to something like Gravy where they have um, a Rigor Mortis in play and a Rum in play, and another ally in grave. Like say they have a Sawbones in grave. You can think about your clock of, okay, I know that they're capable of dealing 12 next turn at worst. So if I'm at 20, I need to make sure that I take cards out of their hand, because if not, any of their like physical attacks into swinging both men, which is kind of just face up on the board right now, is going to put me in that lethal range, which my deck can't really climb out of. So I need to make sure that I'm playing as aggressively as I can right now to avoid that. Syndra, similar idea of just like Syndra randomly draws 4 cards off the top. It's usually between like 14 to 16 damage. So if you just think about these numbers for all the decks that you're facing, and kind of just ingrain them in your head of like knowing your life total right now and knowing whether you can afford to take lines that are more aggressive versus defensive based on the life totals of you and your opponent, I think will like help you level up a lot, because this is just going to be something that's relevant for all matchups in Fab for Eternity.
Agreed. Foxbane, asks, who would be the most trustworthy Runaways member if the goal was to organize a team dinner with everyone present post-event?
I feel like everyone would suck.
Well, it's definitely Sarah, but
Yeah, I was
no
gonna
one
say it's not close.
knows Sarah,
Mhm.
so it's not
Yeah.
even close.
Naib has organized a couple dinners before, right?
Yeah, he has.
Oh,
He's the one who's
But
made
he's-
the most effort, I would say, of the actual team members.
Yeah.
I feel like Shane would weirdly be good at it.
I was thinking Shane
Yeah,
as
Shane
well.
would be good at it. Yeah.
If I'm not playing the event,
He would
I
never
would pick myself for this job.
He would never volunteer to do it. You know,
No.
no. I do a bad job. And then he'd probably like blow us all out of the water with how good of a job he would do. But
No, Shane was my pick as well.
Shane. Dan, if he's not currently playing.
Yeah,
in
if
the
I'm
tournament,
playing on the
is
worst
also
pick, if
my
I'm
other
not
pick.
playing, it's gonna get done.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why you're not even in contention. Like you're always playing in the event.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
True. Well, with that, I gotta get out of there. I gotta practice for Riftbound. I'm going to Atlanta this weekend out of nowhere, so I'm gonna go fly and play in that tournament. So goodbye, everybody. Let's get out of here.
Time to raid.